tunnels are up. I'm using the hub and spoke VPN to simulate between all these gates, gate A, gate D, gate B, and gate C. You see I have 3 branches, B, C, and D. All the tunnels are up, you can see, and traffic is able to pass. Same applies to this. Then gate A is serving as my hub, my central hub to manage the branches, and all the tunnels related to the hub are up, you can see. Then I'm also using the captive portal. You see the captive portal is successfully configured between gate D and the users, so that this user must provide the password and the username to access the internet. So just to verify that, you see, you must log in to the network before you access the internet. So the user has to log in. So for example, he has to access facebook.com. So you see, that is captive portal. So the user has to authenticate by entering the username and the password. All these clients are able to get IP address automatically from the dedicated server. We can test via this one, IP DHCP. The moment you see Dora, it means it has successfully connected to the server. We can verify via pinging 30.21.1. That is the gateway, you see. So I have successfully configured this particular project. Please, I urge you, follow step by step with me to achieve what I have just shown you here. Project, I'm going to simulate the airport and transportation hub network using FortiGate Firewall in GNS3. So I'm going to tackle a problem whereby security in the airport operations has to be maintained. It's a point of concern. So I'm using FortiGate Firewall hooked in every department within the airport to ensure there is seamless, secure communication. So at the end of this video, you'll get to understand how operations in the airport transport sector works. So this is a medium airport with gate A, that is the main gate. We've got gate D connected to tenants and airlines department, then gate B connected to public guests area, then gate C, the security operations. All these gates forms the space for the airport, so that my case here is to implement total zero trust, full trust network, in that there is no any threat actor who can compromise the communications within this. All network is converged. When I mean converged, both data and voice is on the same channel and priority is given. So users in security operations, for them to access the internet, will have to be authenticated through captive portal here. Then the airport operations center has the data center bearing the Windows domain controller and Ubuntu server, basically for mails, files, and others. So I'm going to configure this network. At the end, we have to test that from any department can communicate with each other. So to ensure that I'm not going to create site-to-site VPN between one FortiGate to the other, I'm going to use what we call automatic discovery VPN. It's a kind of a secure IPSec VPN that is anchored on the border gateway protocol. So the main gate is going to be our controller in this case. So in this topology, all port 1 from the firewall is connected to the internet service provider. Then port 2 is connected to the internal local area network dedicated to that department. Especially, you see port 2 is connected to the LAN, same here, same to gate D, B, and C. Port 3 is the management port, so every firewall port 3 is connected to the management port, and in this case I have just connected my management cloud to an open Cisco switch so that every firewall is connected to that open switch so that it gets IP address automatically from this particular server here. So without further ado, I'm going to configure the interface. First of all, I create the administrator account. Config system global. So I set the host name for this. This is gate A. After configuring the host name, then I configure port 1, the service provider, all the internet service, all the ports facing the internet service providers are going to get IP address automatic. We set the role is to be 1. Then next, port 2. We set the mode is static. Set IP address on that port 172.30.20. So this is it, .20.1/24. We set the role of that is a LAN port. Set alias. So after there, we configure the management port. We allow all these services. At that particular point, we are done with the gate A, that is our controller. You can see the IP address received. Automatically, this is for the ISP, then this is for the LAN facing that interface. When we repeat, we will get the management IP address, that is 4087. So that one we will use it to access that firewall. So once you access that firewall, you just extend the idle time so that it stops logging you out automatically. This one, let it remind me later. From here, we just accept the license evaluation. Then OK, we come on the system, then setting. After system setting, we just extend the idle time to the maximum, that's 480 minutes. So we are done with that particular firewall. I move to the next, that is get C, this one. And remember, this is the IP address that that particular firewall received. This is port 3, disconnected on JTL as the internet service provider, and this is get C for the security operations. You set the administrator account, config system interface, edit port 1. We set mode DHCP, set allow. Set allow access ping is enough. Then next, edit port 2. Set mode static, set IP 172.30.23.1/24. So after there, set the role of this is LAN, set alias, security, set alias, this is security operation, LAN. So once we are done that, we set the management interface. So once we are done setting the management interface, we can end and set the host name. Config system global, set host name, get, this is get get C. You see here it is showing Palo Alto because I'm using the session that I saved initially for Palo Alto, but that's not a big deal. So I'm done on this. Let's verify the IP address. Diagonalize IP address list. So you see it has received 90. Then that one is 82. Just as highlighted here. So we access the firewall in the browser. What we did here, we also do it here. We don't save, we remind later, I will the firewalls later. We begin doing license evaluation at this stage. Once license evaluation is done, we extend that one. Can execute reboot. Execute reboot. So I'm starting the firewalls to fix the file system. So I'm done with get A, get C. So I'm going to get B. A bit faster. So once we set the host name, this is the management IP. So after the management IP, we set the LAN port. Remember, all local area network facing interface ports, all the ports facing the local area network are going to be assigned the IP address statically. So we set that one. We set the host name. So once we access that, this is the IP for the management. You can see according to the ports, port 3, then port 2, then port 1. Just take that IP, you paste here. So 192.168.10.89. So we log into the firewall using the administrator account that we had created initially to ensure that we have the ability to carry out the configuration on the system. Remember, the things that I'm doing on this firewall requires the administrator capabilities, of which without you cannot do anything. So you see I have accessed that one. So part of 3 firewalls are now up. This is for gate A. This is for gate A, gate C, then gate B. So that is it. I'm now going to the final firewall. That is firewall that is connected to the airline base where the planes are parked. Config system interface, edit port 1, set mode, DHCP, set allow, ping HTTP, that's enough. Next we go to edit port 2, set mode static, we set IP 172.30.21/24, set allow access ping telnet HTTP, that's enough. Set the role of that is LAN. Set alias get DLAN. So next, edit port 3, set mode DHCP, set allow HTTP telnet FGM ping. That's enough. Then after there, config system global, we set the host name. Host name, then get D. We verify the IP address received. So 91 is the, you see this is 72. Then this IP is the one that I'm going to use as the management. You see? This .72, it means the last number for the public IP address used in that. So what I'm going to do is to access this file in the browser. There is an error here. Not worry about it. It will be okay. So it is checking the file system, doing scanning. So I want to remove this one. You can just do this. Let me remove it. So at this point, I'm going to remove that particular I'll access the console, then right click, then change the display. So at this point, I'm going to change it into 12. Then I just apply and leave it. So that is it. I have finished configuring the firewall in the airline base. So you just reboot and you give it the ability to scan 192.168.10.91. There was power disruption, you see. So it is ensuring that the file system is up and running. So I'll check it later. At this point, I'm evaluating the license for the firewall in the airline base. So once we do that, we just come and extend the idle time. So this is get A, get B, get C, get D. So that's the arrangement of the 4 firewalls. So the firewalls are used to, remember, the function of the firewall is to filter traffic to deep scan the traffic to ensure that whatever that is being requested from the local area network to the internet is verified, checked, and filtered. All the requests are examined before they are allowed to the internet. And this being an airport, there is a lot of operations that are happening, and this kind of operations, users are accessing the internet, staffs are sending files, sending confidential data. So in such kind of operation, security is of the greatest concern. So after configuring the interfaces, the next thing, I'm going to enable the dynamic host configuration protocol server on the interface facing the local area network on each firewall. So I will start with the gate A. I'll just give it 20, no big deal. So I have finished. Gate C. This is gate C. Gate D. So on gate D, I'm also going to enable the same to ensure that internal computers get IP address, because this is a large enterprise network where doing things manual is not recommended. So at that stage now, I'm going to ensure that traffic from this local area network can access the internet, and by doing so, the firewall at this point is not aware what to do on the traffic that comes from this particular port. So I'm going to tell the firewall, first of all, I'm going to tell the firewall that, look, any data that comes from this particular local area network, this is the path to follow. That's one. So by doing that, I'm going to create a static route to direct the traffic from every internal area network, for example, from airport operations center to the internet, that is through this particular CCOM ISP provider. So the firewall has to get that information. Same applies to this particular gate C. The operations staffs, security operations staffs, their traffic has to be verified by the firewall through the JTL service provider to the internet. Same applies to public guest area, then the tenants or the airlines. So I will start here. I'm going to create the static route so that in that port 2 is the incoming port, then port 1 is the outgoing port. That's for the policy. For the static route, it means that the source is going to be this one, then the destination, it will be everything on the internet. So that is gate A. So on gate A, you just click on the network, then here on the destination, it means any. Then the gateway is dynamic, so you just click this add an interface, then you choose the Safaricom interface. Being dynamic, you just change it to dynamic, then it's okay. From there, you create a rule that helps that particular local area network clients to reach the internet. get a LAN to internet. So that is the rule. Incoming port is the LAN port, then outgoing is the Safaricom link, that is, and when it comes to the source, everything within that particular dedicated subnet, then my services, I'm going to allow all the services. So after there, at this point, I'll generate all the logs on all sessions. So what I have done now, when I enable this client to get an IP address automatically from the server here, it has also to access the internet. First of all, it has to access the gateway, that is port 2, then port 1 is the check IP DHCP. You see, it has received the IP address DORA. DORA means from the same subnet. So when we save and try to ping even Google, so at that point my rule is synchronizing, so we can just test it by pinging the gateway. You see, so if at all I can reach the gateway, reaching Google is easy. So you see, I'm able to reach. So that's what I have just tried to mend. So the same, I'm going to replicate it on all these firewalls. So once I'm done that's when I will configure now the automatic secure tunnels between the gates. For example, gate A to D, gate A to B, gate A to C, then vice versa. So I'm going to use what we call the Porter Gateway Protocol to help me create all those automatic secure tunnels. By meaning automatic secure IPSec tunnels, all the static routes, VPN static routes, all the VPN related security firewall policies are going to be automatically created. The IP for the remote and the internal or the local are going to be automatically detected. So I'll move to the next. This is gate, let me just log in to know which gate is this. This is gate B. So this is gate B. So the first thing is to create the static route a bit faster. The function of the static route is to direct traffic from the source to destination. So you just come on the interface. Gate P is operating by which particular ISP, that is LTK. LTK, then the role is 1. So after there, I have created the static route, now the firewall policy. Gate B to internet, incoming port, then outgoing port. The source destination is dimmed to all. So you see, the source is everything, destination is accessing everything, then schedule is always, service is all. Once you do that, you enable what we call NAT. This is source network address translation. Then you accept all sessions, and on all those sessions you generate the logs. So I'm done on that. Now when I enable client on the gate B, that is the public guest. It has to get IP address automatically from the dedicated subnet and also be able to ping the internet. So I'm on gate C, static route done, creating static routes. This is LAN to ISP. So incoming port is security operation LAN. Then destination is everything. Then the service is everything. At this point, all sessions are generated. Then OK. Gate D. Gate D is serving on which particular internet provider? Gate D is Safaricom. So there is an issue that we committed here. Gate A is operating on CCOM. That is CCOM. Then gate D is operating on Safaricom. That is the one link. So we just change this. Safaricom, we give it the role, then it's okay. After there, we create the static route is created, you see. So the next we create the policy. There is an implicit rule that is meant to deny gate D LAN to internet. In normal enterprise network, you have to give something that at least it will help you to troubleshoot with ease. So we allow the source. These are steps to create the firewall policy. So the destination is also everything. Destination is everything. Once this is done, ensure that NAT is enabled. Then on the same, there is no security profile attached. Allow all logs to be generated on all sessions. Now this is the rule. At this point, we can execute and ping the internet. Execute and ping the internet. You see, I'm able to reach the internet. So that's the power of that rule. So at this point, I have successfully created configure the interface, configure the DHCP server on every dedicated firewall, moved on by enabling creating the security policy and static route to help traffic move from the connected local area network to access the internet. So at this point now, my site can access the internet, and you see the service provider are having a central hub whereby all service providers are originating at a particular point. So to ensure redundancy, and you can see they have how many? Four of them. They have CCOM. So CCOM is providing internet to the data center here. CCOM is one of the big providers that provides even internet to other companies like Safaricom, Liquid Telecom, JTL. So at this point, SECOM being the main of the main is supporting key critical department here. That's the airport operations. Then Safaricom is operating gate D. Then LTK Liquid Telecom is supporting gate B. Jamii Telecommunication is supporting gate C. So now, to ensure that automatic security tunnels are created to route traffic between the source and intended destination, I'm going to use what we call hub and spoke, or sometimes it is called ADVPN. That's auto discovery VPN, whereby this is one of the modern enterprise security feature that is implemented in a scenario whereby you have multiple branches, like many branches that you cannot manually configure site-to-site VPN. We just use auto discovery VPN so that it can create security IPSec tunnels between the controller and the branch. So in the airport, you can say I have 4 firewalls. Configuring site-to-site VPN between the firewalls is just tedious and time consuming. So to outdo that, I have chosen to factor in this concept to create security tunnels in between automatically. For example, when a user is communicating from maybe security operations to any of these particular departments, an automatic security IP tunnel will be opened or will be created for that traffic to flow securely, so that the internet service providers that are connected here, 4 of them, none of them will ever see what is being conversed on the network, but they will just provide the internet access. So I will start with the controller. This gate A being the hosting the data center here, it's going to serve as the controller. So I'm going to configure the gate A firewall as the controller. So at this point, you just come on the VPN. On the VPN, these are steps. On the VPN, just create IPSec tunnel, then gate A VPN, now underscore VPN, then we choose hub and spoke. The role of this particular firewall is a hub. It means it has the capability to control other branches, and if at all any communication will happen between or among the branches, it has to be synchronized to the hub. That's why the internet providers are at the middle. So once you choose that, you just choose the SECOM, that is the port 1. Then you just give the pre-shared key, and remember the pre-shared key is just used to authenticate the hubs or the clients into the controller. So in this case, you see through the power of border gateway protocol, it has dedicated the IP address that I'm going to use to authenticate all these 3 firewalls. So at this point, I'll just choose the LAN port. Then you see spoke 1, I have just 1 spoke, so I have to add up to 3 because it has only detected 1, so I have to add 2 manually. Then at this point, there is no range, it remains individual. Then next we create that. The moment we create this, we've got what we call security keys here, configuration keys. So these configuration keys, when we come to any of these particular branches, gate B, gate C, gate D firewalls, I'm going to use the security keys, configuration keys that were generated by the controller firewall, so that through the configuration keys, the clients are authenticated, in addition to the passphrase or the pre-shared key that was created. So I will start with the spoke 1. You just copy the key. Spoke 1, it means get B. Then you just create just almost the same as on the controller, but there is a slight different. Get B VPN. So at this point you just choose hub and spoke, but the role of this firewall changes from a hub to a spoke because the hub is the controller. Then at this point you just paste security key, the configuration key, then you apply. Then next, at this point you authenticate using the key that you created on the controller. You see at that point it has detected the IP address for the controller, the internet service provider IP address that was issued. You see it has detected these IPs. This is the IP for the controller. You can change. So at this point you just pick the local area network interface. If you have many, then you can connect. So you've successfully configured that particular gate B. It has synchronized into the client, into the controller, sorry. So let me also try to finish faster on the other spoke 2 now. That is gate C. Gate C is supporting the security operations. So I'll just choose IPSec tunnel. You create new tunnel. This is gate C underscore VPN hub and spoke. Paste security key, apply, next, authenticate. Once you authenticate, it will automatically detect the controller IPs. These IPs are the same. So once you are done that, you pick the local interface, that is the monitoring interface, and then you create. You pick the last key, the last configuration key. The moment I finish all the dial-ups, you will see the dial-ups. This is get D underscore VPN, then the role, paste key. If you fail to apply, it will not sync. It will not synchronize with the hub. So at that point I have successfully created what we call automatic auto discovery VPN, so that the session automatically opens up when the communication is being generated. You see reference 3 of them, they are up. So if you want to check more, you can see now. So get DVPN, there is a tunnel that has been created between get DVPN and the controller. This IP is the IP address that was provided automatically by the internet service provider connected to gate A. That is the hub, and this is the size of traffic that was going and coming. Get DVPN 2, you see. So it has 2 selectors. If you want to confirm whether it was successfully created, you just see the bluish part here. It means your tunnel was created successful. You see, this is the number of the clients that are within the controller. And remember, this traffic is the initial traffic that I used to test during the DHCP client and process on the computers. So when we check on the hub, you can see 3 dial-up connection. So we have this one, and this one. So this is the hub, you can see. You see all the connections. This is how now the controller looks like. The controller has automatically established all the connections to the individual branch through the same IP address. You can see here, these are the internet service provider IP. Then these are the size of data that has been transmitted to and fro through. This is the name of the tunnels, both phase 1 and phase 2. So that's how auto discover VPN is created. So the last thing here, I'm going to check to enable captive portal. So you see it received IP address 192.172.30.23.20. So we can change this. Let me just delete this so that I can add a new one. So I will pull this. Once I pull this, I will connect it to this particular switch. Then I'll check something here. So this is a web term. This is security operations CEO. So I'll edit the configuration and ensure that this client is going to get IP address automatically from the intended subnet. Then I save. I start. So first of all, you have to verify that this particular node here has received IP address automatically. So to check that, you will just click on the console, then click on the terminal. Once you click on the terminal, just verify you see it has received this one. So at this point, if at any point this particular computer is going to access the internet, I want to configure active portal or captive portal, in that it has to authenticate this particular CEO to securely connect to the resources of the company or of the airport network over the internet. So if he tries to access any site on the internet, he has to enter the username and the password. So let me go to that particular, that is this particular firewall here. Then I instruct this firewall. Any user on this network has to enter the credentials before he or she accesses the internet. So that's gate C. So I'll come on gate C, then user authentication. I'll create a group. First of all, I'll refresh. So let it synchronize. So the captive portal is a security feature that just enable the auditors to know who accessed a particular resource at what time and what did he do with the resources, or what did the person access on the network. So I will create a group here. We'll create a group captive portal users. So this is a group. My group, there is no member within that group at the moment, and the group type is on the firewall. So at that point, I create a user here, a local user. So you see, you can create users either on the Radius server, Takak server, or the domain controller, etc. So the name of the user is CEO. Then the password is still CEO. Once you create that, you do not enable multi-factor authentication. Then you assign that user to a group, then you submit. So when that user tries to access the internet, you'll have to enter the password and the username. So the next thing now, to enable captive portal, you'll just come on the network, then interfaces. You enable captive portal on the interface facing the private or local area network in that particular sector. In this case, I'm going to enable captive portal on this interface because this is the gateway through all these users in the security operations department in the airport network are connected. So at that point, I just click on the LAN interface. Then there is a part called security mode. You enable that. So let me save first. So this is LAN. There is a part called you enable security mode. So let me enable that. Once security mode is enabled here, you choose the captive portal. Which type of security mode? Captive portal. Is it local or external? I'm going to do it locally on the firewall. Then on the user access, restricted to a group. Then you pick that group. This is the group. Then you don't exempt anything. You specify the URL here. For example, if this user types, maybe he wants to access Facebook, let me just facebook.com. If he types facebook.com, he will just have to enter the password and the username for him to access the internet, or to access that particular site. So we are done. Remember, this is the subnet for that particular client. So you see, the moment you configure captive portal security, you will notice that when you open a browser, it will give you a pop-up that you have to sign in for you to access the resources. First thing, I'll access the IP. I'll try to verify the IP address. You see, it has received IP address from so let me open it. So I want this one to access, and this one is on this branch 23. So IP address, you see, it has received exactly from there. So let's try to access the internet. You see, we are able to access the internet. So now we are good to go. To check whether we'll just type here facebook.com. This is not working as expected. Let me just troubleshoot. Because I have configured it already, let me just bring another one. Can delete this. Before you power it, ensure that it gets IP address automatic, then you power it. Once you power it, confirm it's okay. Then access the console. Access the console, but before you access the console, verify the IP address. You see it has received 22. So at this point, let's now try facebook.com. So if it uses the rule configured to access the internet, you'll notice that it will bring a login page from the FortiGate firewall. It will display something here, FortiGate firewall, then prompting for the username and the password. For this, you can verify in my previous videos on the FortiGate firewall, on the captive portal on the FortiGate firewall, for you to get it. Because of time, I'm not going to troubleshoot, because there is a video that I did earlier on how to troubleshoot captive portal, and also there is a video that I did captive portal configuration FortiGate firewall. So this is how enterprise, airport, and transportation or transport hub is simulated using this auto discovery VPN, captive portals, and multi-VLAN routing. Just to verify, this user, let's try to ping across 172.30.22.23.22. Let me try from this side. Ping. You see, I'm able to reach. So multi-VLAN routing is working correctly. This branch, let me just enable this. This is the testing phase. First of all, it must get IP address automatically from the dedicated server. So once it gets IP address from the, we just save this, then ping 172.30.23.22. You see? So I'm pinging from the airline department or tenants department to a client, this particular computer here in the security operations. So that kind of communication, the moment this client communicates with this, there is an open channel that is created automatically that secures that traffic from threat actors over the internet. So that's how this project has been conducted or configured from scratch. If you happen to have any question, please feel free to leave your comment. And also don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, watch, so that you are the first person to get the videos once they are uploaded. Enable the notification icon for more videos. Thank you so much for your time. Let's meet on the next project.